Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And you've missed a few things since our last episode. Number one, I posted it on Facebook, but in case you missed it, toads and dogs do not mix. So Autumn had a bit of an encounter with a toad and decided, I'm pretty sure before I got to her, she had it in her mouth. And she was like trying to nip it, when I finally saw what she was doing. And she started like foaming at the mouth. And I was like, so I ran to my phone immediately to look up if toads um, are searching for the word poisonous to dogs. And in fact, they are poisonous to dogs. So the phone told me, I asked Mr. Chatty McChatterton, because he's the fastest way for me to get my answers with my vision disability. So he said, Chatty told me to wash her mouth out from side to side, not encouraging her to swallow, like drink water, like don't tell her to drink water. And so I got like a wet cloth and I was wiping her mouth out. And actually, I took her right outside I have a little baby pool with water in it for the dogs to wash their feet off before they come inside because they sprayed the grass with chemicals. So I like to rinse it off so they don't get some sort of uh, oh, my head is killing me. Any sort of like something happened from the chemicals in the grass. Okay, so anyway, I took her out to the pool and she was pretty pissed off at me, but I just kept opening her mouth and I was like whoosh, whoosh, like trying to get the water to wash out her mouth. And then it was pretty clear to me that her mouth hurt, like something was wrong with her mouth. So, um, it said to wash the mouth out. And then it was talking about like there are some toads that are extremely poisonous to dogs and some that are mildly poisonous to dogs. And it gave like what the symptoms are. So pawing at your mouth, um, and foaming at the mouth and vomiting and disorientation. So we had foaming at the mouth immediately. Then we had she wasn't pawing at the mouth, but she was just like there was something in her mouth she wanted to get out of her mouth and couldn't. So she was doing that, and then about 10 minutes later, she threw up. Um, and I thought, okay, the next thing, if she's disoriented, then I'm gonna call the emergency vet. But she did not act disoriented. She just kept displaying like that her mouth was really bothering her. So I wet a cloth, and at any other time in her life, she loves to chew up little like washcloths, but not when I want her to. So I wet a cloth and tried to give it to her. She didn't want anything to do with it. So that didn't work. So about 10 minutes later, she finally laid down, and then about 10 minutes later, she threw up again. And the throw up, okay, sorry, TMI, you can fast forward, but it smelled like the Chesapeake Bay Seafood House. That's what it smelled like. It was terrible. I mean, like, yeah, I don't need to go into it, but it was pretty bad. There was definitely something there that was not good for her. So, this is your warning not to allow your dog to play with toads. Okay, there you go. So that happened, and then my son and I own a house together that he lives in, and the air conditioner is not working because it only happens, our air conditioners only break when it is 101 degrees outside. That is a requirement by the universe. Speaking of signs, it's a requirement of the universe to break your air conditioner prior to the heat, right before the heat comes. So that's what happened for him. So luckily, he's been able to get a window unit until we correctly assess our options for repair or replace. So we're doing that, and I have opted for replacing it. Now I got to figure out which company. So I got a couple quotes, and one quote is like $4,000 more than the other guy's quote. And clearly the more expensive one offers, it just seems like a little bit of a better put together company, but yet the air conditioner, they're trying to charge us more than the air conditioner we got for our own house, which is like one of those dual systems, so that we have two thermostats, one in the upstairs, one in the downstairs, and we're in Loudoun County, and this company is in Morgantown, West Virginia, and they're trying to charge us more than we paid for that. But that's the company that seems a little more professional. So I'm going to hone in on my negotiating skills and see if I might be able to get the price down. Usually, in my history with negotiating at my last company, I just ask and I receive. So we'll see if it's that easy this time. I don't know. So that's happening. Hopefully I can get that figured out. But my head is really, really hurting. And it is because, I believe it is because I was looking at these quotes and comparing them, and then looked on the internet for. Actually, I went back to ChatGPT again and asked him to. I gave him all three quotes and asked him to compare them and give me a recommendation. So he did that, and the recommendation was pretty clear. I mean, it was obvious, which one he went for the middle one. That was kind of the obvious choice. The problem is that's not the more professional company. So the one that he chose, the guy who came to give the quote was he wasn't there very long, and he just was like in and out, and that kind of rubs me the wrong way. So we'll see what happens. I'll update you, okay? A day in the life of Raquel. Okay, today I'm talking about something that I've been avoiding talking about. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about dropping out of AA. Okay, usually I call it the sobriety program, but just to not always be saying AA. But anyway, I just want to talk about my experience with people who drop out of AA. And the reason why I'm talking about it is because I had an individual come to me and tell me that she's no longer going to meetings, and she feels as though she is getting what she needs from her faith. So I was disappointed, to say the very least. Disappointed. It's been bothering me for several days. I found out on Saturday, so I've been disturbed since then, and it's Tuesday. So 4 days I've been disturbed. I've been not necessarily wanting to talk about it, for the sake of this person, knowing that I'm talking about her in case she's listening. But I think it's important. I don't think it's important. I know it's important. And it's fine for me if our dear listener, hi, knows that I'm talking about you. So, what I'm gonna do is just share my experience. I really was a little bit at a loss as to how to respond, because I don't want her to drop out of AA, but I can't control her not dropping out of AA. Um, and so my experience observing when people drop out of AA is this danger of saying that we're fine, right? I've talked about this a lot lately, but this is a little bit of a different angle on saying that we're fine. So I can, it's so easy when somebody says, "How are you doing?" to say, "I'm fine. I'm doing fine." It's living on that surface level. It's living the way that I lived before I got sober. Actually, before I really, really understood the steps and was practicing them in all of my affairs. It's so easy to not do the work and say, "I'm fine." And if I say I'm fine enough, there is absolutely an illusion of stability that I've created for myself. It's like, I don't know. It's we have an incredible ability in our lives to create what we want life to be around us. It's like our own little bubble. And we can create an illusion for ourselves that life is a certain way because I don't want to deal with life not being this way. Even though that's really what's going on, I don't want to deal with it. So if I just stay here in this bubble that I've created for myself, then I'm fine. And this is not aligned with emotional sobriety. Emotional sobriety is taking down that cloak, that breaking that bubble, and being able to navigate emotions no matter what's happening in our lives. So it's not being fine, repeating that I'm fine so that I'm fine. It's acknowledging I'm not fine. What am I going to do about it? And sometimes we are fine, right? I mean, that's obvious. Sometimes we're fine. But what ended up happening is on Thursday, I went and had coffee with a woman who had just come back from a relapse, and she relapsed because she decided to stop going to AA. And then 2 days later, I went to coffee with another woman who said, I'm not going to AA anymore, and I feel comfortable with my sobriety this way. And I said that I was not pleased to hear that, but I certainly can't make her do what I want her to do. Going to AA is work. And some people go to these meetings and they sit and they listen. Some people go to the meetings and they share. And some people go to meetings and they help run the meetings. They volunteer for secretary or chair or something like that. Your experience is what you make it. But over time, no matter how much or little we are involved in AA, things can get repetitive. And I think that from what I've observed, I've seen a lot of folks stop going when it becomes repetitive. It's like, I'm not getting, I'm hearing the same stories over and over again. So that's an excuse. That's what it is. It's an excuse to not go. When the solution, if we're practicing AA in all of our affairs, is to look at how I'm feeling, look inward and think, what are my feeling? Am I frustrated? Am I bored? Am I feeling like it's a waste of time? Then acknowledge it and talk to somebody on your recovery team, whether that's your sponsor or somebody in your family or a friend, and acknowledge it. Because what some suggestions could be is find a different meeting. There are meetings around the world at every single hour of the day. And this disease of alcoholism will it I don't like to speak of it as if it's a living, breathing organism or anything. But what the disease makes me think is that I'm okay. And it minimizes the importance of treatment. And that's what AA is for me. It's treatment. It's daily treatment. It's like, and I heard it this morning, somebody said, um, if I don't remember what example he gave, I can't remember, but if I have any other disease or illness, we take medication regularly to treat it. And that is what AA is for me. It is treatment for my disease. And if I don't go, then I transition from emotionally sober to physically sober. And being physically sober has nothing to do with with being able to deal with life on life's terms. The cool thing for me about AA is that it includes faith if you want it to. So when I hear somebody say, I'm not going to go to AA anymore, I'm going to lean into my faith, and that's all I need. It feels like an obvious excuse. I feel like faith is a part of AA. You can say it's a spiritual program and not a religious program, whatever, whatever. But steps 2 and 3 are all about having faith in something outside of yourself, whatever it is. And my sobriety has to come before anything. It's a lifelong condition and I need daily treatment. The reason why I'm okay, the reason why I'm fine is because I was treating my disease. And I think the biggest, most helpful example of that is, because I hear it all the time and I did it myself, when folks have anxiety and they take medication and they figure out after a while that they're fine, so they don't need the medication anymore. I mean, it happens all the time. Even though the warnings are all over the place, don't stop taking the medication without consulting your doctor first. Well, we do it anyway. At least I did. And it brought me to my knees. And um, I ended up having to go through this like transition period where I had gotten off the medication. I went pretty much crazy. And then I had to go back on the medication. So that was like a month of being completely unstable. Um, and I didn't have to live that way. If I had just kept taking my medication, I wouldn't have had to do that. What kind of effort was it for me to keep taking the medication? Like, why did I stop that? Um, it's hard to say, but I needed to keep that maintenance, in order to continue being okay. And that is how I compare going to AA. And there are, like I said, there's some people who just go and don't talk. There's some people who go and they'll share. And then there's other people who are just swimming in the deep end with all the other AA folks. And there, there are cautions, I think. And I heard somebody else say this morning about going too much or going not enough. I thought that that was a really important thing to consider, because along with this idea of feeling bored because you're just going every day, you're hearing the same stories from the same people, and you're bored, there's also a consideration of maybe going every day was too much. Maybe going 3 times a week is more appropriate. Maybe you won't feel so, um, what's the word? I'm having a hard time with words because my head hurts. But maybe you won't feel so much like you want to quit altogether if you only go like 3 times a week. It just so happens that this person is a perfectionist, whether she knows it or not. And when I hear of her doing things like exercise or going to AA or doing anything, she does it every single day without never a break, never a break. Everything is completely perfectionistic, like an overachiever. And that in itself can be a character defect. And that can provide that false sense of security because I'm going every day and it's like I've created that bubble around me that I wanted to create. And then I realized that, well, that bubble will just stay around me, even though I'm not going to the meeting anymore. Like I've constructed, I've architected the bubble around me. Now I'm gonna take away the source of the bubble. And it seems to me, I'm only sharing my experience, strength and hope, that when that source that created that bubble around you, when that source is taken away, the bubble is going to deflate. And slowing down, going, usually people who stop going to AA, they start by slowing down going. I mean, I've seen it over and over and over again. And what scares me is the story always ends with somebody drinking. Always. Always. I haven't had a situation. That's not true. I have one situation where, but maybe that story's not over. What do I know? But I do have one example of somebody who went to AA for about a year and decided that it was just not his cup of tea and is still not drinking. So I should, make sure that I acknowledge that some people do stay sober without AA. Some people use different programs rather than AA, and I get that. Um, but what I want to express here is really my concern. That's it. For anybody who might be in recovery and you're considering stopping going, think about those few things. Really, that's all I can ask. Like, think about, are you going too much? And that's why you want to quit. Are you going not enough and maybe you need to increase it? Are you expecting too much from yourself and it's becoming overwhelming? Um, these are all, I think, legitimate questions to ask yourself, Um, a sobriety community should be a safety net and not a burden. So, are you surrounding yourself with the right people? When I first started AA, I went to so many different meetings because every meeting that I went to, I just felt like, these aren't my people. Like I couldn't relate to these people. But I finally went to one. I was like 3 years into sobriety at this point. I kept going, even though, and I ended up going to a women's meeting, and I was like, these are my people. I didn't necessarily connect very strongly on a personal level with any of them, but in the meetings, like we were all working women in Loudoun County, and we had families and we had spouses or ex-spouses, and I was able to just feel at home there. And that was the first time that I had felt that way. And it took 3 years for me to get there. So, AA has been one of the few things in my life that I've been able to do consistently. And I'm pretty proud of myself for that. When I don't even think about not going to AA. But what I can say is AA helps me to remember who I am, who I really am. Um, It helps me remember the difficulties that I faced before I got sober. It it helps me to remember my challenges when I was going through the steps. Like, I need to have a daily connection to the root of my character defects, which is my disease. Because if I lose touch with how hard it was, if I lose touch with the kind of person that I can be without this outline for living, I mean, it's incredible. For me, it's incredible. It's a program for making decisions in my life, knowing when to be accountable, knowing when to be vulnerable, knowing when to be, it's like I said the other day, knowing what parts of me to hold up straight and strong and what parts of me to keep soft. That's what AA does for me. So I say again, like, I can't make anyone do what I want them to do. I used to think I could. I used to think I had control of every one in my presence. But I don't. I only have control of what's within my fingertips. And so if I share what I've experienced, which is folks going back out and dying, then maybe just one person will reconsider who might be thinking about stopping sobriety meetings. Maybe one person will stay willing and stay connected. And that's all I can offer. All I can offer is my I guess my experience. Yeah. So I do encourage you to, even if you are still going to AA, like check in with yourself and think about, how's it make you feeling? Are you going too much? Are you going not enough? Are you connected with the right people? Do you need to find a new sponsor? That can be kind of a struggle too. Divorcing your sponsor and wanting to stay friends, that kind of thing, maybe that could have been, what was going on. But think about what your motives are. Think about, are you fitting AA into your life? Or are you fitting your life around AA? I don't want to entertain what my life would be like without AA, because AA has given me my life back. So I feel like I am in debt to it. I, the newcomers deserve for me to stick around and share my experience, strength, and hope. And I get to learn from those newcomers and be reminded what it was like in the beginning. And it's tough and it's life-threatening. And I don't want to ever forget that. So that's what I've got today. And thanks for listening. And go to an AA meeting. I'm kidding. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.